Hello and welcome aboard WhalePod to another episode of Pokemon Scarlet. We are at the Treasure Eatery now instead of the Naranja Academy because I am going to just show off that this person here working behind the counter is where you go to change a Pokemon's Terra type. Brought me some Terra shards so I can whip up a Terra type changing dish. We have normal Terra shards and rock Terra shards. You get 50 normal Terra shards from just talking to them for the first time. The rock Terra shards are from time around the academy. We also had some dragon Terra shards, but we used those already. We're not going to actually do this. I'm just going to show that when you select it, it will open up your boxes automatically as well. So no need to have the Pokemon you want to change Terra type on in your party even. Now, what we use those dragon Terra shards on, and why is there this mysterious Toedscruel in our party? Both questions will be answered towards the end of this video. Now, as always, I'm your Captain Whale, and we will be back when we are at the Naranja Academy again. And we are back. And let's, without any further ado, get right into the main event. We're going to be taking history with Miss Raifort. I have fought Raifort during the Academy Ace tournament, and I will just say, one, that's probably her Gengar right there, and two, she is darn hot. So, yes, we'll take history with Miss Raifort. I saved these classes for on-camera because this will lead us into the sub-legendary plotline. Oh, I see we have some new students here with us today. My name is Raifort. I will be the one to impart knowledge of the past to your little minds. History is a wonderful thing, truly splendid. On that we agree, Raifort. History is my favorite and best IRL subject to study back when I was in school. In fact, during my brief stint in college before deciding that school was for nerds and leaving, I at one point considered being a history major. The lives of our ancestors throughout history forged the path to the present in which we live. Today you shall learn about the most mysterious location in all of Paldea, the Great Crater. What else is there to learn? I've been there. As you are all aware, the massive crater known as the Great Crater of Paldea exists in the heart of our region. The area inside this crater is called Area 0, and research of its geological strata and material composition has shown that the crater is in fact over 1 million years old. It was long believed that a certain something rests at the bottom of this mysterious crater. Ah, perfect timing to make eye contact. Young Whale, answer me this. What exactly was believed to rest in the depths of the Great Crater inside Area 0? It's obviously not a Snorlax or a Pokemon Center. That is correct. You are a surprisingly clever one, aren't you? I see you did your homework. No, Raifort, it's called, I've been to the crater. Prior to coming to my class. That's right, some believe that a treasure more valuable than anything else in this world rested in the depths of the Great Crater. So much for dreams of treasure hunting, though, as a lab has been built in those very same depths. Oh, and before I forget, you would all do well to remember that the Great Crater and Area 0 are both off limits to all but those who have official business there. Do not dare entertain the foolish notion of gallivanting off into Area 0 in search of riches. It is no place for children dreaming of treasure and adventure. Besides, if it were at all possible to investigate the area, I would surely be the first to do so. Oh, is that the time already? I must have gotten swept up in filling your minds with knowledge. This ends today's lesson. We will unravel more of history's enigmas together next time. That was lesson number 1. We'll take history 2 with Miss Raifort. Class will begin soon, don't be tardy. Greetings, my little students. So whatever you did yesterday, it is now a part of history. Today we will continue to unravel the marvels that history has presented to us. About 2,000 years ago, this region came under the rule of the Paldean Empire. Historical accounts describe the Paldean Emperor as being quite the dictator. This emperor also zealously believed the legend of the treasure that rests deep within Area Zero. I must mention that the civilizations of our ancestors were not as developed as ours is today. People back then were far more likely to believe in mysterious legends, magic, and beings beyond human comprehension. In an attempt to gain the power to stand against Paldea's neighboring countries, the Emperor sent people in droves to join the hunt for the fabled treasure of Area Zero. Ah, perfect timing to make eye contact, young whale. Answer me this. Approximately how many years ago was it that the Paldean Empire began to rule this region? All of these could be correct, maybe. 1,000 years ago might be logical. 3,000 would put the Paldean Empire as a contemporary of AZ's Kingdom of Kalos. I'm gonna go with 3,000. Incorrect. You're off by an entire millennium. Why, 3,000 years ago, the Paldean Empire didn't even exist yet. The answer is about 2,000 years ago. That is when the great era of exploration began. However, it is said that not a single adventurer sent out by the Emperor ever reached the depths of Area Zero. Was it the punishing journey itself that barred their way, or perhaps some unknown creature? The resounding failure of this great era of exploration almost certainly heightened the air of mystery surrounding the crater. Oh, what I wouldn't give to explore Area Zero in its untouched state at that time. I suppose I can only hope for the swift invention of a time machine. I can see now that if you were playing this as you unlock the classes through the course of the treasure hunt, that this would be a little bit of foreshadowing. But it's just it's just irony now that we know the truth. Oh, is that the time already? I must have gotten swept up in filling your minds with knowledge. This ends today's lesson. We will unravel more of history's enigmas together next time. So it would appear the Paldean Empire is kind of, well, the Pokemon world's Roman Empire then, with it being roughly at its height 2,000 years ago. Once again, 3,000 would have put it as a contemporary of AZ's Kingdom of Kalos. Good evening, Master Whale. What class would you like to take? We'll continue our history lessons. You'd like history of Miss Raifort? Class will begin soon, don't be tardy. Greetings, my little students. Whatever you did yesterday, it is now a part of history. Today we will continue to unravel the marvels that history has presented to us. As you should remember from our last class, Area Zero's great era of exploration began about 2,000 years ago. This era lasted for approximately 1,000 years, but not a single soul was able to venture all the way to the deepest reaches of Area Zero. Having poured much of its human and financial resources into the exploration of Area Zero, for so long, the Paldean Empire fell into decline. 200 years later, or 800 years ago, the Empire and its surrounding nations united into one entity. This was the formation of Paldea as we know it today. Ah yes, this very academy where you're now filling your young minds with knowledge was also apparently established at that time. In fact, this school building, though certainly having undergone repairs through the years, is just as it was when it was built so long ago. Its very structure is a piece of history. Ah, things of old are truly splendid. I would certainly prefer not to have the Pokeball portion, though a relatively new addition. Ah, perfect timing to make eye contact, young whale. Let's see if you've been listening to my lecture. Tell me, approximately how many years ago was this academy of ours established? 800. Correct. I see the look of concentration on your face was indeed just that. I hate nothing more than when a student only pretends to listen. This academy was constructed exactly 805 years ago, to be precise. In other words, your academy here is 805 years old. At the time, it offered state-of-the-art facilities and a uniquely innovative curriculum. As such, people used to say, those seeking knowledge need look no further than the oranges of Paldea. That's right, they were referring to Naranja Academy. It is said that this proverb of sorts was even used outside of the Paldea region. Oh, is that the time already? I must have gotten swept up in filling your minds with knowledge. This ends today's lesson. Our next class will be our midterm exam. Bring the wonders of history to the forefront of your minds in preparation. Good evening, Master Whale. It's not time for a class, it's time for a test. Greetings, my little students. It is time for our midterm examination. Summon your historical knowledge from the dark recesses of your minds and answer the questions. What is the name of the geological formation in the center of the Paldea region? Great Crater Paldea. What was long believed to rest in the depths of Area Zero? Technically A and C, but the one she's referring to is C. How many years ago did the Paldean Empire begin to rule this region? 2000. How many years ago was this academy built? 805. Those seeking blank need look no further than the oranges of Paldea. Knowledge. Your time is up. Put your writing utensils down. The last question was a freebie. Even the least capable of you surely padded your score there. I sincerely hope you did anyway. So ends our midterm examination. You may ask for your scores at the school's front desk. Feels great to get a test out of the way, doesn't it? Let's look at your results. You must get 3 questions correct to pass the midterm exams and 4 questions correct to pass the final exams. Let's see how you did on your history test. 5 out of 5 questions correctly. That's a passing score. Congratulations. Miss Raifort asked us to give this reward to any students who pass the exam. 5 experience candies S. You get 5 experience candies small from each midterm and 5 experience candy medium from each final. Keep doing your best. And now we're gonna go straight into History 4. You'd like history with Miss Raifort? Yes, indeed. We'll begin soon, and don't be tardy, yada yada yada. Greetings, my little students. Whatever you did yesterday, it is now a part of history. I was hoping to continue unraveling the marvels that history has presented to us today. However, I imagine your ability to concentrate has been spectacularly derailed by my midterm. I suppose changing things up for fun and variety may be a good idea every now and then. So allow me to tell you an old fairy tale that has been passed down in Paldea for generations. Once upon a time, there was a king who very much enjoyed collecting treasure. He was particularly fond of treasures from other countries. One day, a merchant from the east heard rumors of this king and came to meet him. The merchant laid out 4 treasures in front of the treasure-loving king. The 4 treasures were as follows: a vessel, a sword, a set of tablets, and a set of beads. Seeing such rarities before him, the king leaped for joy. He showered the merchant with gold coins and claimed all 4 of the treasures for himself. Perfect timing to make eye contact, young whale. Answer me this. I said that one of the treasures was a set of tablets. What do you think these tablets were? Wooden planks for writing on, obviously. Correct. Your daily pursuit of knowledge serves you well. These particular tablets were wooden and used as a writing medium in the East in ancient times. As you may know, they fell out of popular use as paper became more universally available. For the king to consider these paper substitutes treasures, they must have been of superb quality. That or perhaps they had some amazingly profound teachings written on them. So, the king obtained these 4 treasures, and on that very night, it is said that a terrible disaster rained down upon his castle, reducing it to rubble by dawn. Oh, is that the time already? I wasn't done with my story, but alas, so ends today's lesson. If you are interested in how the story ends, you may come see me outside class hours. So that is our hook, I believe, into the sub-legendary storyline. The sub-legendaries are known as the Pokemon of Ruin, and are based off of, well, a vessel, a dagger, some tablets, and some beads. Good evening, Master Whale. History 5. Yes, we do indeed want it. Starting soon, don't be tardy, yada yada yada, we get it already. Greetings, my little students. Whatever you did yesterday, it is now a part of history. Today we will continue to unravel the marvels that history has presented to us. I trust that you all remember our lesson before the midterm exam concerning the great crater Paldea and its interior Area Zero. This mysterious crater captured the imaginations of many, including the former Paldean emperor. 200 years ago, a group of explorers claimed to have finally reached its depths. The name of the team that achieved this great feat was the Area Zero Expedition. How original, Game Freak. The team is said to have been made up of Paldea's best and brightest. Skilled battlers, brilliant researchers, talented individuals of all kinds. Among the list of team members was the name of a man who was an author and a brilliant natural historian, Heath. After returning from the expedition to Area Zero, he used his literary talent to record the events of the expedition and publish them. Perfect timing to make eye contact, young whale. Let's see if you're paying attention. What was the name of the team that first made it to the deepest reaches of the Great Crater? The Area Zero Expedition. How boring. Correct. To pick up on and remember a term, I simply slipped into the flow of the lecture. You really are quite the clever one. The correct name for this team was the Area Zero Expedition. The record of their activities, written by the expedition member Heath, can be found in bookstores and the like even today. The record is now known as the Scarlet Book. At the time, the entire region of Paldea was absolutely buzzing about Area Zero. The Scarlet Book was so popular that practically everyone had a copy. However, the book itself was full of fantastical descriptions and illustrations of things that could never be thought of as real. The masses began to call Heath a liar. Even the truth of the expedition making it to the bottom of the crater was called into question. The Scarlet Book was condemned to the shelves of used bookstores as just another book of wild paranormal stories. There's a copy of one on the bookshelves on the ground floor of the entrance hall. Feel free to have a read if you're interested. Oh, is that the time already? I must have gotten swept up in filling your minds with knowledge. This ends today's lesson. We will unravel more of history's enigmas together next time. Good evening, Master Whale. History 6, the last class we can take before the final. Yes, we'll take History of Miss Raifort. Yes, we know already. We never are tardy. Greetings, my little students. Whatever you did yesterday, it is now a part of history. Today is our last class, so I would like to unravel the marvels that history has presented to us one last time. In our last class, I taught you about the Area Zero expedition of 200 years ago, correct? Alas, 200 years is not that long ago, not that long ago at all. How unfortunate that our history lessons must march so inexorably toward the future. Would it not be more of an adventure to march toward the past instead? More proof that Scarlet is the better version than Violet. Sorry, Iron Valiant, you're the only cool thing about about Violet's exclusive Pokemon. To start from our present and study history in reverse. I think it would. So you agree with me, do you, Whale? However, I am afraid I risk incurring the wrath of our dear director if I stray from the curriculum. I suppose I have no choice but to let the flow of time carry us toward the future. In this last class of ours, I shall fill your minds with the history of the terrestrial phenomenon. The technology behind the Terra Orbs has its origins in Area Zero. Even after the Area Zero expedition supposedly reached the crater's deepest depths, others continued to explore that area. And around 140 years ago, a Pokemon cloaked in a mysterious light were discovered there. As you may have already guessed, these were in fact terrestrialized Pokemon. However, when those who discovered the Pokemon brought them out of Area Zero, the light faded and the terrestrial phenomenon remained a mystery for quite some time. However, 10 years ago, that might as well be present day, a certain someone you have definitely heard of unraveled this mystery. Perfect timing to make eye contact, young whale. Answer me this. What is the name of the famous professor who unraveled the terrestrial phenomenon mystery? It was, I want to say it was Sada. Clavel wasn't really on anything like that. Correct. To think that you, a new transfer to our academy, would correctly answer this question. You must be very diligent in your studies. Approximately 10 years ago, a professor named Sada unraveled the mystery of the terrestrial phenomenon. She discovered that the shining crystals down in Area Zero, or rather the energy they emit, is what causes Pokemon to terrestrialize. This led the professor to invent Terra Orb technology and develop a practical use for it. This technology was then shared with both the Pokemon League and our academy. Rumor has it that Director Clavel was one of the researchers on the professor's team. Alas, this story is much less exciting now that someone we all know appears in it. Modern history truly is dull, isn't it? Thus ends my history classes. Our next session will be our final exam. Bring the wonders of history to the forefronts of your minds in preparation. And history final time. Yeah, I get it. We won't be late. No, my audio didn't desynchronize there. The text box just displayed a little slower than I was thinking it would. I guess the game decided to have a hiccup right then. Greetings, my little students. It is time for our final examination. Summon your historical knowledge from the dark recesses of your minds and answer the questions. What is the area within the Great Crater of Paldea called? Area 0. 805 years ago. Which of these did not appear in the Paldean fairy tale about the 4 treasures? Folding fan was not there. Which Area 0 member wrote the record of the team's activities? How many years ago did Professor Sada invent the Terra Orbs? Your time is up. Put your writing utensils down. You must excuse that last question. It is too shallow and ridiculous to be on a history test. But alas, the director forced me to include it. So ends our final examination. You may ask for your scores at the school's front desk. It does feel great to have a test out of the way. Show me the results. 3 to pass the midterm and 4 for the final. 5 out of 5 questions correctly. Passing score, yada yada yada. Experience candy M, because that's what you get for all the final exams. All classes and passed all their exams. I have this for you from Director Clavel. 5 experience candies, large. Now you can focus all of your efforts on this year's treasure hunt. Be careful out there. Well, first things first. Before we go into the talking to Miss Raifort around campus, I just want to finally reveal the fate of the Dragon Terra shards and why there's a Toad Scroll on the team. Because they are indeed the same. We have a Terra Dragon type Toad Scroll. Why is it Terra Dragon when it doesn't even have any dragon moves or Terra Blast on it? Well, this is a defensive Terra typing. This Toad Scroll has been EV trained in HP and physical defense, and with the 6 remaining EVs being thrown into special defense, and I gave it a special defense boosting nature in order to get solid defenses on both sides and solid HP. That is because this Toad Scroll has Spore and Mycelium Might. It will act more slowly when using status moves, but these moves will be unimpeded by the ability of the target, meaning I can put Insomniac Pokemon to sleep or stuff like that. And Toad Scroll is going to be our main catcher for going after the 4 Pokemon of Ruins sealed all across Paldea. The Dragon Terra typing here is mainly to give us more of a defensive edge against these powerful legendary Pokemon. As I do know, one of them is a Fire type and one of them is an Ice type. The others are Ground and Grass, and while we will lose our resistance to Ground and instead be neutral to it, the main deal here is we will still have our, well, we will go from being neutral to Grass to being resistant to it again, and we will go from being weak to Fire to being resistant to Fire, and we will go from being doubly weak to Ice to only being singly weak to Ice. That is also where the Focus Sash intends to come in, as we will be able to hopefully, well, as long as, well, I'm getting a little bit of word salad here, so what I'm trying to say here is, as long as we are able to take 1 hit from the Ice type, well, that's not it either. Even if we aren't able to take 1 hit from the Ice type, the Focus Sash will ensure we are able to take 1 hit from the Ice type in order to Spore it to sleep, and give us a few turns of unimpeded or less impeded capture power in which to chuck Dusk and or Timer Balls at it. So the Dragon Terra type was done completely defensively to increase our ability to take on the Pokemon of Ruin. And it's a net positive because we lose 1 weakness, turn a double weakness into a single weakness, and while we do lose a resistance to Ground, we gain back our resistance to Grass, so it's all in all a net positive to have a Terra Dragon over either Terra Ground or Terra Grass, and I do believe this Toad Scroll was actually Terra Grass prior to this. So Toedscruel is our catcher Pokemon for going after the Pokemon of Ruin. Now, where do we want to go? Raifort's in the staff room right now. Yes, Whale from Class 1A. The way you conduct yourself in my class and the answers you give to my questions, I admit they pique my interest. You are quite the interesting pupil, I must say. Tell me, Whale, given a choice, which do you prefer? Things of old or things that are new? Well, I'm playing Scarlet, so I definitely prefer older to newer in the Pokemon sense. So you prefer things of the past, do you? The potential I saw in you was real, after all. Yes, I would much rather have a Great Tusk than an Iron Treads. Would much rather have a Scream Tail than an Iron Bundle, and so on and so forth. Yes, this one may indeed be of good use to me someday. You can disregard that. I was simply thinking out loud. I enjoyed our little conversation today. You have my thanks, Whale. We became slightly closer with Miss Raifort. Now, where are you showing up? Right in the entrance hall. Probably over by the Scarlet book. No, my expectations have been subverted. In a most annoying way, because now it means we have to run around the place looking for her. There she is. Why, if it isn't Whale from Class 1A? Are you perhaps interested in the rest of the old tale I told you in class? Yes, I am. Heh, it is convenient that you would take the bait I presented in class. A vessel, a sword, a set of tablets, and a set of beads. After obtaining these 4 treasures, the king's castle was destroyed. Why, do you ask? Because these 4 treasures were actually 4 Pokémon. As these Pokémon were passed from human hand to human hand as treasures, they slowly became tainted by hubris and greed. Finally, after coming in contact with the rapacity of the king at the time, they awakened as disasters and began to rampage out of control. The king called for renowned Pokémon wielders to defend the country, and after a fierce battle, these incarnations of disaster were quelled. It is said that these 4 Pokémon were then sealed away somewhere in Paldea. So what did you think? Would you say this story is just make-believe? No, I wouldn't. Heh, very astute of you. I have read many historical disaster reports, personal journals, and the like. There is much to support the truth of this story. I am able to prove the story's veracity myself. If I am able to, I will be sure to let you know. We became even closer with Miss Raifort. Now, where's she going to next? Back in the entrance hall still. Still here, I see. Well, the time has come. The cursed treasures, the 4 Pokémon of Ruin. They exist. And I stumbled upon the truth in the newspaper of all places. In an interview piece with a carpenter, no less. The Pokémon wielders apparently use sacred stakes to seal these treasures of Ruin in shrines. There's a separate shrine for each of the 4 Pokémon, and 8 stakes driven into the ground in the areas surrounding each shrine to keep the power of Ruin at bay. these guys. If you've been seeing these guys scattered throughout the world, releasing all the stakes of a corresponding color will unleash one of the Pokemon of Ruin. In other words, if all the stakes for a given shrine were to be removed, it would release the Pokemon held inside. Don't you think it would be nice to free those Pokemon from the confines of their tiny little shrines, well? Yeah, that's the whole point of this arc, isn't it? A kind soul, I see. You are proving truly useful. According to a descendant of the Pokemon wielders in the story, you must have a bond with Pokemon in order to remove the stakes. I'm sure someone as Pokemon savvy as yourself would have no trouble with all that. You can choose for yourself whether to believe me or not, but I will mark the locations of these shrines on your map. I'd rather go myself, of course, but skipping out on my classes to go adventuring seems to have made the director a little suspicious of me. If you can think of it as part of your treasure hunt, treasures of Ruin are still treasures after all. I hope you will investigate these shrines if you are at all inclined to do so. Okay, Raifort, now, let's, wrap up this conversation because I'm glitching out here. Raifort is still in the entrance hall. We'll talk to her one more time, or we'll see if this is just gonna be where there's a block like with the Saharo. I do hope you'll take on the hunt for the treasures of Ruin if you are so inclined. And we are indeed blocked until we hunt for the 4 treasures of Ruin. And that is where we're going to end this episode for today, WhalePod. In the next episode, we will be unleashing and capturing the first of the 4 Pokemon of Ruin. But until then, I hope you have liked this video, WhalePod. As always, do make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you have not done so already, with a super effective left click. And do remember, comments are welcome down below. With that said and done, WhalePod, I hope you all are having fantastic days. Make sure to stay cool, stay classy, and most importantly, stay healthy. But until next time, this is Captain Whale, signing off.